warning came at 3 in the morning. Commander Jake Morrison was pulled from sleep by the urgent beeping of his communicator. He grabbed it with tired hands and saw the message that would change everything. Unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were damaged and sending distress calls. Jake dressed quickly and rushed to the command center. The large screens showed dozens of ships floating in the darkness of space. They looked old and broken. Some had holes in their hulls. Others leaked atmosphere into the void. The fleet was dying. Dr. Sophie Bennett arrived minutes later. She was Earth's best xenobiologist and had studied 17 alien species since first contact. Her brown hair was messy from sleep, but her eyes were sharp and focused. She studied the ships on the screen with growing concern. "Have they said who they are?" Sophie asked. "They call themselves the Varen," Jake replied. "They're asking for help." Before they could discuss further, another message arrived. This one came from the Galactic Council, the ancient organization that ruled most of the galaxy. The message was clear and cold. Earth was ordered to stay away from the Varen ships. Any contact would be considered a violation of galactic law. Earth would face severe consequences. Ambassador Lisa Chen joined them in the command center. She was a small woman with a strong voice and years of diplomatic experience. She read the council's message and frowned deeply. "They're threatening us," she said quietly, "but they haven't explained why." Sophie pulled up more information on her tablet. "I'm reading about the Varen in the Galactic database. They were members of the Council until 3 months ago. Then they were exiled." "Why?" Jake asked. "For technological heresy. They developed artificial intelligence that's forbidden by ancient galactic law." Jake looked at the dying ships on the screen. He thought about the thousands of people inside them, running out of air and food. He thought about the laws that had cast them out into space to die. "I'm going out there," he said. Lisa shook her head. "Jake, if you make contact, the Council will punish Earth. We've only been part of galactic society for 15 years. We can't afford to make them our enemies." "And we can't afford to let people die when we have the power to help them," Jake replied. He turned to Sophie. "Will you come with me?" Sophie didn't hesitate. "Yes." 2 hours later, their shuttle docked with the largest Varen ship. The airlock opened with a hiss. The corridor beyond was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered weakly. Jake and Sophie wore their suits but kept their helmets off as a sign of trust. A group of Varen waited for them. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large eyes that seemed to hold both hope and sadness. Their leader stepped forward. His name was Kale, and he carried himself like a man who had once been powerful but was now broken. "Thank you for coming," Kale said in perfect English. "We did not expect anyone to answer our call." "How many are you?" Sophie asked gently. 50,000 souls. Children, elders, scientists, workers, all that remains of our people." Jake felt his chest tighten. 50,000 refugees in dying ships. Kale led them through the ship. They passed families huddled together for warmth. They saw children with hungry eyes. Medical bays were filled with sick people. The life support systems were failing slowly but surely. A young Varen woman approached them. Her name was Mira, and she was a scientist. She explained their situation with careful words. "We built machines that could think and learn," Mira said. "We believed they would help us solve problems and understand the universe better. The Council declared us criminals for this. They gave us 3 days to destroy all our research and submit to their laws. When we refused, they exiled us." "Where were you trying to go?" Sophie asked. "Nowhere," Kyle answered with bitter honesty. "There is nowhere for us to go. Every system belongs to the Council or fears them. We sent distress calls to every species we could reach. None answered. Until you." Jake looked around at the failing ship and the desperate people. He thought about the Council's threats and Earth's precarious position in galactic politics. He thought about the right thing to do. "We need to return to Earth," he said, "but I promise you, we will find a way to help." Back at the command center, the debate was fierce. The Council had sent 3 more messages, each more threatening than the last. Some officials argued that Earth should follow orders. Others said that morality mattered more than politics. President Ryan Mitchell made the final decision. He was a gray-haired man who had led Earth through first contact and the difficult years that followed. He listened to all the arguments, then spoke quietly but firmly. "We will offer the Varen sanctuary," he said. "Temporary, while we figure out something permanent. But we will not leave them to die in space." Lisa tried one more time. "Mr. President, the Council could expel us. They could impose sanctions that cripple our economy. They might even use military force." "Then that's a risk we'll take," Ryan replied. "I won't let Earth's first major decision in galactic society be an act of cowardice. We help them." The rescue operation began immediately. Earth's fleet guided the Varen ships to a safe orbit. Medical teams rushed to treat the sick and injured. Food and supplies were loaded onto the alien vessels. Engineers worked to repair the most critical systems. Kyle stood on the bridge of his ship and watched Earth growing larger in the viewport. The blue planet looked impossibly beautiful after months in the cold dark of space. Beside him, Mira wiped tears from her eyes. "They're really helping us," she whispered in wonder. "Yes," Kale said, "but I fear we may have brought them terrible trouble." On Earth, the celebrations were brief. Within hours of the rescue announcement, the Galactic Council delivered their response. Earth was officially sanctioned. Trade restrictions would begin immediately. Council members were forbidden from sharing technology or resources with humanity. Earth was being punished for showing mercy. Jake Morrison stood at a window looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council was angry. Somewhere out there, consequences were coming. But for now, 50,000 people were safe and alive. Sophie joined him at the window. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Jake thought about the children he'd seen on those dying ships. He thought about what humanity wanted to be remembered for. "Yes," he said simply, "I do." Above them, Varen ships settled into orbit around Earth. 2 species, both facing an uncertain future, but facing it together. 6 months had passed since the Varen arrived. The Australian outback stretched endlessly under the hot sun, and in the middle of all that red earth and sparse vegetation, a new settlement had grown. Prefabricated buildings stood in neat rows, solar panels gleamed in the sunlight. Varen and human children played together in the dusty streets, but not everything was peaceful. Dr. Ben Carter walked through the settlement taking notes. He was a sociologist assigned to study how the 2 species were adapting to each other. What he found both encouraged and worried him. The Varan were quick learners. They had mastered English in weeks. They worked hard at every job given to them. But their pride was a constant problem. They hated being dependent on human charity. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stood at the settlement's main gate, checking vehicles that came and went. She was young for her rank, but had earned it through skill and courage. Security was her responsibility, and lately it had become more difficult. Protesters sometimes gathered outside the fence. They carried signs saying Earth should take care of humans first. Some signs were uglier, full of hate and fear. The Galactic Council's sanctions were hurting Earth's economy. Ships that once brought exotic goods and technology from the stars had stopped coming. Trade agreements were canceled. Some human colonies in other systems faced pressure and harassment. People were losing jobs, prices were rising, and many blamed the Varen for all of it. Inside the settlement, Mira worked in a laboratory alongside human scientists. She had become friends with several of them, especially Sophie Bennett. Today, they were studying Varen medical technology. Mira's people had developed treatments that could repair damaged organs and cure diseases Earth still struggled with. "This is incredible," Sophie said, looking at the data on her screen. "Your nanomedicine could save millions of human lives." Mira smiled sadly. If only the council thought healing people was as important as following old rules. In another part of the settlement, Kale sat with Elder Thane, one of the oldest Viren. Thane was traditional and cautious. He didn't trust humans completely, no matter how kind they seemed. "We should not become too comfortable here," Thane said in their own language. "Humans are young and impulsive. They saved us today. But what about tomorrow when the Council's pressure becomes too great?" "What choice do we have?" Kyle asked tiredly. "We have no ships that can reach another galaxy. We have no weapons to defend ourselves. We survive because humans choose to help us." "That is exactly my point," Thane replied. "Our survival depends entirely on their choice. We have no power of our own." Kyle had no answer for that. The old Viran was right. His people were completely vulnerable. That evening, everything changed. A group of humans calling themselves Earth first attacked the settlement. They came in trucks at sunset, throwing homemade bombs over the fence. 2 storage buildings caught fire. Viren families scattered in panic as explosions echoed across the desert. Amy Rodriguez and her security team responded immediately. They rushed toward the attack with weapons ready. Jake Morrison, who now lived at the settlement as a liaison officer, helped evacuate Viren civilians to the shelters. The attackers were poorly organized and badly equipped, but they were driven by anger and fear. One of them aimed a rifle at a group of Viren children. Amy saw him and moved without thinking. She threw herself between the gunman and the children, firing her own weapon. The attacker went down. The bullet had hit his leg, not a fatal wound, but enough to stop him. The other attackers panicked and tried to flee. Amy's team captured 3 of them. The rest escaped into the desert night. In the aftermath, Jake walked through the settlement checking on people. Several Viren had been injured by flying debris from the explosions. One human guard had burns from fighting the fires, but no one had died. That small mercy felt enormous. He found Kale standing amid the wreckage of a burned building. The Viren leader's face was hard and cold. "This is what we bring you," Kyle said bitterly. "Violence and division. Perhaps the Council was right to exile us. Perhaps we are a curse on everyone we encounter." "Stop," Jake said firmly. "Those attackers don't represent humanity any more than criminals represent the Viren. Every society has people who choose fear over compassion. But your people are suffering because of us," Kale insisted. "The sanctions, the economic problems, and now this violence. How long before even good humans like you decide we're not worth the trouble?" Jake didn't answer immediately. He looked around at the settlement, at the Viren and human firefighters working together to put out the last flames, at Amy Rodriguez checking on the Viren children she had saved. "You're asking the wrong question," Jake finally said. "It's not about whether you're worth the trouble. It's about who we want to be. And I'd rather be part of a humanity that faces trouble while doing the right thing than a humanity that takes the easy path and abandons people who need help." The next morning brought unexpected news. A human child in London had been dying from a genetic disease. Doctors had exhausted every treatment Earth's medicine could offer. In desperation, the child's parents had contacted Mira at the Viren settlement. Mira and Sophie worked through the night, adapting Viren nanomedicine for human biology. It was dangerous and experimental. It might not work at all. But the alternative was certain death. The treatment worked. The child recovered completely. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Videos showed the little boy running and laughing for the first time in years. His parents tearfully thanked the Viren scientists who had saved their son. Public opinion began to shift. People who had been angry about the sanctions started to see the Viren differently. They weren't just refugees taking Earth's resources. They were people with knowledge and skills that could benefit everyone. But the Galactic Council was not pleased. Ambassador Lisa Chen received a new message from a council emissary named Zorax. He was a reptilian species, cold-blooded in both body and manner. His message was blunt. "Earth has 30 days to expel the Varen from your system," the message said. "If you refuse, the Council will consider it an act of rebellion. Military force will be authorized. Choose wisely." The message appeared on screens around the world. Everyone saw it. Everyone understood what it meant. The Council was giving humanity a final choice: protect the Varen and face war, or abandon them and stay safe. President Ryan Mitchell called an emergency meeting. Jake Morrison, Sophie Bennett, Lisa Chen, and dozens of other officials gathered in the Situation Room. The debate was fierce and desperate. "We can't fight the entire Galactic Council," General Kate Harrison argued. She commanded Earth's defense forces and knew their limitations. "They have thousands of ships. We have hundreds. They have weapons we've never seen. We'd be destroyed." "So we just hand over the Varen?" Sophie asked angrily. "We tell them we're sorry for saving their lives, and please forgive us for being decent people?" "I'm not saying I like it," Kate replied. "I'm saying we have to be realistic. Earth can't survive a war with the Council." Jake spoke up. "Maybe we can't win. But maybe winning isn't the point. Maybe standing up for what's right is the point, regardless of the cost." Lisa Chen looked at the reports in front of her. "There's something else to consider. I've been receiving quiet messages from diplomats of other species. Some of them admire what Earth has done. Some are questioning whether the Council's laws are just. We might not be as alone as we think." "Might not be alone isn't good enough," Kate insisted. "We need certainties, not maybes." The president raised his hand for silence. "We're not deciding this in one room. This decision belongs to all of humanity. We're holding a global referendum. Every person on Earth gets to vote. Do we protect the Varen or do we comply with the Council?" The announcement went out immediately. In 30 days, humanity would choose its path, and the galaxy would be watching. The debate consumed Earth for 30 days. Every news channel showed nothing but arguments about the Varen. Every social media platform exploded with opinions. Families fought over dinner tables. Friends stopped speaking to each other. The world had never been so divided. Those who wanted to keep the Varen pointed to the medical breakthroughs. They talked about morality and what it meant to be human. They showed footage of Varen children playing with human children, of Varen scientists working alongside human researchers, of two species learning to live together in peace. Those who wanted to comply with the Council pointed to the economic damage. They showed closed factories and unemployed workers. They warned that Earth's military couldn't possibly stand against the might of the galaxy. They asked if 50,000 aliens were worth the potential deaths of millions of humans. Jake Morrison found himself on television almost every night. He wasn't a natural public speaker, but people listened when he talked about what he'd seen on those dying Varen ships. He spoke simply and honestly about the choice between fear and compassion. "The Council wants us to believe we're too small to matter," he said during one interview. "They want us to think that young species like us should just follow orders and not ask questions. But that's not who we are. Humans have always stood up to bullies even when the odds were against us. That's our history. That's our strength." Sophie Bennett traveled the world giving lectures. She brought Mira with her. Together, they showed audiences the Varen technology that could change human life for the better. Clean energy systems that produced no pollution. Agricultural methods that could feed billions without harming the environment. Medical treatments that could extend human lifespans by decades. "This isn't just about saving them," Sophie told crowds. "This is about what we could become together. The Council wants to keep us separated because they're afraid of what we might accomplish if we work as partners instead of following their rules." Admiral Dan Foster spoke for the opposition. He was an experienced military commander who had spent his career preparing Earth's defenses. His words carried weight. "I admire the Varan," he said during a public debate. "I think what the Council did to them was wrong. But I have to think about what's best for Earth. If we fight the Council, we will lose. Our cities will burn. Our children will die. Is that a reasonable price to pay for our principles?" The most powerful moment came from an unexpected source. Kyle requested permission to address humanity directly. The broadcast went out to every screen on Earth. 50,000 Varan gathered behind him as he spoke. "People of Earth," he began, his voice heavy with emotion, "you have given my people an impossible gift. You saved us when no one else would. You shared your world when you had no obligation to do so. You showed us kindness we had not experienced in the galaxy for a very long time." He paused, struggling with his next words. "But we cannot let you destroy yourselves for us. If Earth votes to protect us, the Council will come. Many of you will die. Your beautiful world may be damaged, and it will be our fault for accepting your help." Kyle looked directly into the camera. "So I am asking you to choose your own safety. Send us away. Let us go into the deep dark where we were headed before you found us. Do not sacrifice your future for our past. We will understand. We will not hate you. We will remember you as the one species in all the galaxy that cared enough to try." Mira stepped forward next to Kale. She was crying, but her voice was steady. "I have worked with your scientists. I have laughed with your children. I have learned what it means to have friends who see you as an equal, not as a lesser species. If I could choose, I would stay here forever. But I love Earth too much to let it burn for us. Please vote to save yourselves." The broadcast ended. For several minutes, Earth was silent. Then something unexpected happened. The vote, which had been split nearly 50-50, began to shift. Not away from the Varan, but toward them. Kyle's willingness to sacrifice his people's last hope had moved millions of hearts. President Ryan Mitchell watched the polling numbers with a mixture of hope and fear. His advisors were split. Half told him to prepare for war. The other half begged him to reconsider while there was still time. General Kate Harrison entered his office with new intelligence. "Mr. President, we've detected unusual activity in Council space. Some species are refusing to send ships to any potential attack on Earth. Others are openly questioning the Council's authority. The galaxy is not as unified as the Council wants us to believe." "Will that be enough?" Ryan asked. "Probably not," Kate admitted. "But it means we won't face the entire galaxy alone. That's something." The final day of voting arrived. People lined up at polling stations around the world. The question on the ballot was simple. Should Earth grant permanent sanctuary to the Varan people, even if doing so results in conflict with the Galactic Council? Jake Morrison voted in a small polling station near the Varan settlement. He saw Varan standing outside, watching humans make a choice about their fate. The Varan couldn't vote themselves. This wasn't their world, not yet. They could only wait and hope. Sophie Bennett voted in Boston, where she had grown up. Her hands shook as she marked her choice. She thought about Mira and all the Varan scientists she had worked with. She thought about the future they could build together if given the chance. As the sun set around the world, the votes were counted. The results came in slowly, region by region, country by country. The whole planet held its breath. Finally, at midnight, Greenwich Mean Time, the results were announced. 62% of humanity had voted to protect the Varan. It wasn't unanimous, but it was decisive. Earth had made its choice. President Ryan Mitchell appeared on every screen to make it official. He looked tired but determined. "Today, humanity has defined itself," he said. "Not by our technology or our military strength, but by our values. We have chosen to stand with those who have no one else to stand with." We have chosen to face danger rather than abandon people who need us." He paused, letting his words sink in. "To the Galactic Council, I say this. Earth rejects your ultimatum. The Varen people are under our protection. They will not be handed over to you or anyone else. If you wish to remove them by force, you will have to go through us. To the Varen people, I say welcome, not as temporary guests, but as permanent residents. We offer you full citizenship. Your children will be our children. Your future will be our future. Together, we will face whatever comes." In the Varen settlement, 50,000 people wept with joy and terror. They had been given a home, but that home was now in danger because of them. Cale found Jake and Sophie standing together, looking at the night sky. Soon, council ships would appear among those stars. Soon, everything would change. "Thank you," Cale said simply. "Whatever happens, know that you gave us hope when we had none. That is a gift we can never repay." Jake smiled grimly. "You can repay it by helping us survive what's coming. We'll need every advantage we can get." "Then let me show you what my people can really do," Kyle said. "You've seen our medical technology and our energy systems. But we have something else, something we built before we were exiled, something that might give us a chance." "What is it?" Sophie asked. Cale's expression was fierce and determined. "Weapons, and the AI systems to use them more effectively than anyone in the galaxy. The Council feared what we could become. Let's show them they were right to be afraid." Far above Earth, sensors detected the first Council ships entering the solar system. The war was beginning. But humanity and the Varen would face it together, as they had chosen to do. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when people with nothing left to lose stood beside people who refused to back down. The choice had been made. Now came the consequences. The Galactic Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a swarm of metallic locusts. 500 warships appeared in formation around Earth's solar system. They were enormous vessels built by civilizations thousands of years older than humanity. Their weapons had destroyed planets. Their shields could withstand nuclear explosions. They came expecting an easy victory. Admiral Kyle Wright stood on the bridge of the EDS Unity, Earth's flagship. He was 50 years old with gray hair and steady hands. Around him, officers worked at their stations with focused intensity. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone was afraid, but no one showed it. "Status of the fleet?" Kyle asked. "All ships report ready, sir," his tactical officer replied. 173 Earth vessels, 42 Varen ships that we've managed to repair and upgrade. We're outnumbered almost 3-1. Kyle nodded slowly. "Not great odds. But we've faced worse before." That was a lie, of course. Humanity had never faced anything like this, but leaders had to lie sometimes to keep their people brave. Jake Morrison commanded a destroyer called the EDS Defiant. It was a new ship, built in the frantic months after Earth's vote. Varen engineers had helped design it. The result was something strange and powerful. Human engines with Varen weapons, human armor with Varen shield technology. It was a symbol of what the two species could create together. "All hands, this is the captain," Jake spoke into the shipwide comm. "In a few minutes, the Council is going to demand our surrender. They're going to threaten us. They're going to try to scare us into backing down. But we already made our choice. We stand with the Varen. We stand for what's right. So when they attack, we fight back with everything we have. Make them regret coming here." Across the fleet, similar speeches were being given. Human and Varen crew members prepared their weapons and said quiet prayers to various gods. Some wrote final messages to loved ones, just in case. Others simply focused on their duties, finding comfort in routine. On Earth's surface, Sophie Bennett stood in a command bunker deep underground. She wasn't a soldier, but she had a critical role to play. Beside her sat Mira at a console covered with holographic displays. The Varen scientists' fingers flew across controls, making final adjustments to the AI defense network they had built together. "The system is ready," Mira said. "It will coordinate all our ships, predict enemy movements, and optimize our tactics in real time. Nothing like this has ever been used in combat before." "Will it be enough?" Sophie asked. "I don't know," Mira admitted honestly. "But it's the best chance we have." The Council's ultimatum came exactly when expected. Fleet Commander Vortan appeared on every screen in the solar system. He was a Croath, a species that looked like armored insects standing upright. His mandibles clicked as he spoke in flawless English. "Humans of Earth, you have made a grave mistake. The Varen are criminals who violated sacred laws. By harboring them, you have become criminals as well. I am authorized to offer you one final chance. Surrender the Varen immediately. Your ships will stand down. If you comply, Earth will be spared. If you refuse, we will take them by force and your world will pay the price." Admiral Kyle Wright took a breath and opened a channel. "Commander Vortan, this is Admiral Wright of Earth Defense Forces. Your offer is rejected. The Varen are under our protection. If you want them, you'll have to go through us." "So be it," Vortan replied coldly. "You have chosen extinction." The Council fleet advanced. Weapon ports opened on 500 ships. Target locks began painting Earth's defensive fleet with invisible beams. In the bunker, Mira activated the AI system. Across space, human and Viren ships began moving in perfect coordination, responding to commands faster than any organic crew could process. The battle began with a storm of missiles and energy beams. The Council's first volley was meant to be overwhelming, to break Earth's spirit immediately. But the AI predicted the attack vectors and the defending ships scattered in patterns that seemed random but were perfectly calculated. Most of the Council weapons missed. Those that hit encountered shields that were stronger than expected. Earth's counterattack was precise and devastating. The AI identified weak points in Council formations and concentrated fire on them. 3 Council ships exploded in the first minute. 5 more suffered critical damage. The rest began to realize this wouldn't be as easy as they thought. Jake Morrison's ship darted through the battle like a shark through a school of fish. The Varen weapons were faster and more accurate than anything the Council expected humans to have. The Defiant's guns tore through the shields of a heavy cruiser and crippled its engines. "Target destroyed," his weapons officer reported, moving to the next one. But the Council had numbers on their side. For every Council ship that fell, 5 more pressed forward. Earth's defensive line began to bend under the pressure. Ships were hit. Crew members died. The battle that had started with hope began to taste like desperation. Captain Emma Santos commanded a carrier near Earth's moon. Her ship launched fighter craft that swarmed around the larger Council vessels like angry bees. Varen pilots flew alongside human ones, their different flying styles somehow complementing each other perfectly. "We're taking heavy damage to the port side," her first officer shouted over the noise of alarms. "Hull breach on deck 7. "Seal it and keep fighting," Emma ordered. "We don't retreat." Across the solar system, Sophie watched the battle unfold on tactical displays. The AI was performing miracles, but even miracles had limits. They were losing ships. The Council was pushing closer to Earth. In an hour, maybe 2, they would break through. "We need something more," Sophie said desperately. "What else do we have?" Mira was silent for a moment. Then she looked up with frightened eyes. "There is one thing. But it's dangerous, experimental. My people built it before the exile, but we never tested it in actual combat." "What is it?" "A planetary shield generator. It creates an energy barrier that can protect an entire world. But it requires enormous power. If it fails, the energy backlash could devastate our own power grid." Sophie didn't hesitate. "Do it." Mira sent the activation codes. On Earth's surface, hidden facilities hummed to life. Energy began flowing from every power plant on the planet into massive generators built secretly over the past months. The Varen had been preparing for this, hoping they would never need it. In space, the Council fleet prepared for a final push. Vortan watched his tactical displays with growing frustration. These primitive humans and their criminal allies were fighting far better than expected. But it didn't matter. He still had the numbers. He still had the superior technology. Victory was inevitable. Then something happened that Vortan had never seen before. Earth began to glow. A shimmering field of energy spread out from the planet's surface, growing larger and larger. Within seconds, it covered the entire world like a soap bubble made of light. "What is that?" Vortan demanded. "Unknown technology." "Commander," his science officer replied. "It's a shield, a planetary scale shield. Impossible. The power requirements would be—" The officer's voice trailed off as he realized the impossible was happening right in front of him. Vortan ordered an immediate attack on the shield. Every weapon in the Council fleet fired at once. The barrage would have vaporized a moon, but the shield held. Not just held, it reflected some of the energy back at the attackers. 2 Council ships were destroyed by their own reflected weapons. The Council fleet fell back in confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. Humans were a young species. They shouldn't have this kind of technology. They shouldn't be able to fight like this. Admiral Kyle Wright saw his chance. "All ships, counterattack. Hit them while they're confused." The Earth fleet surged forward. The battle's momentum had shifted. For the first time, Council ships were retreating. Some were trying to flee. Others attempted to regroup. The perfect military formation had dissolved into chaos. Vortan watched in disbelief as his grand fleet was pushed back by a force that should have been crushed. He had been so certain of victory. The Council had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had never lost to a species as young as humanity. But they were losing now. "Commander, multiple ships are requesting permission to withdraw," his communications officer reported. "Some are refusing to continue the attack. They're saying they won't fight for an unjust cause." Vortan felt rage and shame burning in his chest. This was humiliation. This was defeat. "All ships retreat. We will regroup and return." As the Council fleet began jumping to faster-than-light speeds, Jake Morrison allowed himself a moment of relief. They had won. Against all odds, they had protected Earth and the Varen. But everyone knew this wasn't over. The Council would return, stronger, angrier, more prepared. Still, for now, they had survived, and that was enough. 1 year after the battle, Earth looked different. The cities had grown larger as Varan technology helped build stronger and taller structures. The skies were cleaner because Varan energy systems produced no pollution. The hospitals were fuller with people living longer, healthier lives thanks to shared medical knowledge. 2 species had become one society, but the biggest changes were happening among the stars. Ambassador Sophie Bennett stood in a conference hall that floated in space between Earth and Mars. Around her sat representatives from 15 different alien species. Some she recognized from galactic databases. Others were completely unknown, species that had lived in the shadows of Council space for centuries, afraid to speak up. "The Free Worlds Alliance officially recognizes all member species as equals," Sophie said in her opening remarks. "No species is superior to another. No ancient laws can forbid what we choose to research or create. We believe in freedom, cooperation, and the right of all people to determine their own future." One representative stood up. Her name was Zelna, and she belonged to the Kesh, a species of blue-skinned humanoids. They had been one of the first to leave the Galactic Council after Earth's victory. "My people have lived under Council rule for 2,000 years, Zelna said. "We were told what to do, what to think, what to believe. When we saw Earth stand up to them and win, we realized something important. The Council's power came from our fear, not from their strength. Once we stopped being afraid, they had no real control over us. Kyle, now co-chairman of the Alliance Council alongside President Ryan Mitchell, nodded in agreement. The old ways kept young species in their place. They told us we were too primitive to make our own choices. But Earth showed us that wisdom doesn't come from age. Sometimes the youngest among us see the truth most clearly. Jake Morrison, now an admiral commanding the Alliance fleet, reviewed tactical reports in his office aboard the flagship. The Alliance had grown faster than anyone expected. 15 species had joined so far, bringing their ships, their technology, and their hope for something better. But the Galactic Council was not gone. They had retreated and regrouped. Intelligence reports suggested they were planning something. The war might be over, but peace was not guaranteed. His door chimed and Mira entered. She was now the director of the Alliance Research Institute, overseeing teams of scientists from a dozen different species working together. Her work had produced breakthroughs that amazed everyone. "We did it," Mira said excitedly. "Faster than light communication. Real-time conversations across thousands of light years. Do you understand what this means?" Jake smiled. "Tell me." "It means the galaxy can finally talk to itself," Mira explained. "Before, it took weeks or months for messages to travel between systems. That's why the Council could control information so easily. But now, species on opposite sides of the galaxy can share ideas instantly. Truth can spread faster than lies. Cooperation can happen faster than oppression." "How long before it's operational?" "It already is. We've installed relay stations in all Alliance systems. Within a month, we'll have coverage across a quarter of the galaxy." Jake looked at the star map on his wall. Red zones marked Council territory. Blue zones marked the Alliance. A year ago, there had been no blue at all. Now it covered dozens of systems and was growing every day. His communicator beeped. It was Captain Emma Santos calling from her patrol ship near the outer colonies. "Admiral, you need to see this. We found another refugee fleet. They're not Varen this time. They're Kresh, an insectoid species. The Council exiled them for refusing to join a war against a neighbor species." "How many?" Jake asked. 20,000. They're in bad shape. Starvation, disease, damaged ships. Sound familiar?" Jake felt a grim satisfaction. "Send them coordinates for Earth. We'll take care of them." "The Council won't like that," Emma warned. "The Council can lodge a formal complaint with the Alliance," Jake replied. "We'll file it appropriately." That meant they would ignore it completely. The Council's power to threaten was fading every day. On Earth, Varen and human children attended school together. They learned each other's languages and histories. They played the same games and dreamed the same dreams. When asked if they were human or Varen, many of the youngest ones didn't understand the question. They were just kids. Jake's son, 10-year-old Danny, had a best friend named Saren who was Varen. They were inseparable. One day, Jake asked Danny what it was like having an alien friend. Danny looked confused. "Dad, Saren's not an alien. He's my friend. We're the same." That was when Jake knew the future would be okay. The kids got it in a way adults sometimes struggled with. Differences in appearance didn't matter. What mattered was how you treated each other. 6 months later, something unexpected happened. A delegation from the Galactic Council requested a meeting with the Alliance. Not a military confrontation, a diplomatic discussion. Sophie Bennett and Kale met with them on a neutral station. The Council representatives looked uncomfortable. These were proud beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Asking for talks with what they considered rebels was deeply humiliating. The lead negotiator was a being named Torval, a species that resembled floating jellyfish with crystalline cores. He spoke carefully, choosing each word with precision. "The Council acknowledges that certain situations have changed," Torval said. We are prepared to discuss potential modifications to some galactic laws." "Which laws?" Sophie asked. "The restrictions on artificial intelligence research could perhaps be relaxed under certain conditions. The hierarchical structure of the council might be adjusted to give younger species more voice." Kale laughed, a sharp sound without humor. "You want to reform the system that exiled my people and tried to destroy Earth? You think small changes will fix what's fundamentally broken?" "What do you want?" Torval asked, showing frustration for the first time. "We want you to join us," Sophie said simply. "The Free Worlds Alliance is open to all species, including yours. No one leads. No one follows. We work together as equals." The council representatives looked shocked. They had come expecting negotiations about borders and trade agreements. Instead, they were being offered membership in an organization that contradicted everything the council stood for. "We cannot accept such terms," Torval said stiffly. "The council has maintained order in the galaxy for thousands of years. We cannot simply abandon that responsibility." "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Kyle said. "The Alliance will continue to grow. Species will continue to leave the council and join us. Eventually, you'll be the ones isolated and alone, wondering how everything changed so quickly." The meeting ended without agreement. But everyone knew it was just the first conversation. There would be more. Change was coming to the galaxy, whether the council accepted it or not. President Ryan Mitchell stood before the Alliance Assembly to deliver his annual address. The hall was filled with beings from different worlds, different cultures, different histories, but they all shared a common purpose. "1 year ago, Earth made a choice," Ryan said. "We chose to help people who needed us, even though it was dangerous. We chose to stand up to an unjust system, even though we might have lost everything. That choice defined who we are." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But it wasn't just our choice. It was the choice of every species here. You all chose to stand with us. You chose freedom over fear. You chose cooperation over domination. Together, we've built something new, something better. The old galaxy was built on the principle that might makes right, that the powerful should rule and the weak should obey. We reject that completely. The new galaxy, the one we're building together, is founded on a different principle, that all beings have value, that all voices deserve to be heard, that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker." Outside the station, ships from 15 species patrolled together. Human captains gave orders to mixed crews. Varan engineers taught their skills to anyone who wanted to learn. The future was being built, one friendship, one collaboration, one shared dream at a time. Jake and Sophie stood at a viewport watching the ships pass by. Somewhere among them was the EDS Unity, now just one ship among hundreds, no longer special or unique. That felt right somehow. "Do you think we'll ever have real peace?" Sophie asked. "Probably not," Jake admitted. "There will always be conflict, always problems to solve. But we've proven something important. We've proven that the galaxy doesn't have to be ruled by fear. That's enough." Far away on Earth, Varan and human children played in parks under a blue sky. They didn't know about politics or alliances or wars. They just knew they had friends who looked different but felt the same inside. And perhaps that was the real victory. Not the battle in space or the founding of the Alliance, but the simple fact that children of two species could play together without thinking. It was strange. The galaxy had banished the Varan, but Earth had accepted them. And in doing so, Earth had changed everything.